Welcome to the AJ 101 Week 1, therefore, Chapter 1 video. Short snackable videos to kind of help prep you for the quiz and the exam. You can always use these as exam review videos, as well as offering a little bit deeper explanation going into things that the text does not. In this video, we're going to be talking about procedural justice and components of the criminal justice system. So procedural justice, what is this vague, non-specific term? It's also known as procedural fairness. And if this would work, the definite, in another AKA for it is due process. So anytime you hear procedural justice, procedural fairness, due process, they all are about the same thing. Ultimately, as you can see on the screen, and if you're listening to this audio wise, I'll tell you, it's how fair is the process used in reaching a specific outcome or decision. And obviously we're talking specifically about the criminal justice system. And the reason that procedural justice, procedural fairness, due process are so important is that people decide ultimately if a criminal justice system or any of the three components are legitimate based on this factor, this fairness factor. And what's interesting is this: they've done a lot of studies and they found that people are more concerned with not with what happens at the end, but how they were treated along the way. So even if someone has a favorable outcome at the end, but they were treated like crap along the way, they're not going to believe that that system is legitimate. And this is, again, for any of the three components of the criminal justice system, which I'll be talking about in just a moment. I'm going to use this example because a lot of people have been in this situation. You get a traffic ticket. You get pulled over by the police. You're sent to the courts. So the police, the law enforcement, whether it's, when I say police, I'm talking whether it's a sheriff's deputy or a police officer, it doesn't matter. You're stopped by a law enforcement officer. That's one component of the criminal justice system. Then you go to the courts, another component of the criminal justice system. And for a traffic ticket, that's where it ends. You don't end up going to a correctional facility, the third component. If you get a traffic ticket, you're treated badly, rudely, disrespectfully by the law enforcement officer, and you go to court and the judge ends up dismissing it. So you had a favorable outcome, you still end up with a bad taste in your mouth. If you were treated well during the traffic stop, you go to court and you're treated badly by the court and the judge dismisses the ticket, you're still left with a bad taste in your mouth. You're treated well during the traffic stop. When I say well, I don't mean you don't get a ticket. I mean, you were treated with respect and dignity. And then you go to the court and you're treated well with respect and dignity. And the judge finds you guilty and you have to pay a fine. You're not going to be overjoyed jumping, yoo-hoo. But at the same time, you're going to look over that process and go, well, I didn't like the outcome, but I was treated well. And that ultimately results in a higher level of satisfaction than a favorable outcome being treated badly at any of those two stages. That's based on research. Now, continuing on with this, so ultimately, again, how people are treated. You can't control the outcome of anything as a law enforcement officer. You can't control what happens in the courts. You can't control what happens in the correctional facilities. You have no control over that. What you have control over is the process while that person is in your custody, and that's what you're responsible for. Now, why do people have resentment? Well, ultimately, resentment is someone gets treated badly, and when they don't speak up, they don't say anything, that's when there's a large feeling of resentment. If they do speak up, they say they file a citizen's complaint. Well, they may feel better, but there's still that resentment in that they didn't speak up sooner. They didn't speak loudly enough. They didn't say the right things. All these thoughts run through their head because ultimately they're still not satisfied with the outcome. How do we avoid having people resent law enforcement, resent the courts, resent the corrections? Those three components of the criminal justice system. They need to be treated well. They need to be treated like humans with dignity and respect along the way, even when they don't deserve respect. In the criminal justice system, we still have to demonstrate that respect. So the components again, law enforcement, courts, corrections, and how do you remember? Well, you get caught by the cops, you get convicted in court, and get carried to the correctional facility. It's an alliteration. It's just an easy way to remember it. That's it for this video. We will see you in the next video, which, is going to be short and sweet and snackable too. Don't eat it after midnight.